Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to look at the Chaos Space Marine Combat Patrol. I'm going to discuss the reasons you may purchase a box set, the value of this particular box set, and I'm also going to look at the models in particular and give a wee bit of a discussion on how they might play on the tabletop. With that, let's get into it. First thing I like to discuss is why buy a box set in the first place. So main rule is you're buying this for a discount, which seems simple enough. But depending on what you are buying, some of the stuff may be better just buying separately. You might not need everything in the box set. So if you're buying for gaming, have you made a test list and does every model find a place in one or more of these lists? Are units useful or not? Though bear in mind, big thing is that rules do change. We've got a roadmap of the rules that how they're going to change. Points may change, so that can be quite difficult. Some units may go up and down with the meta. It depends where you want to play in the gaming. Do you think you're going to get them out on the field within the month? Then yeah, great, get gaming. But if you think this might be a long-term project, that can be a little bit difficult to work out. Are you buying for hobby purposes? Do you have interest in building and painting every model in the box set? That can be one where, looking at Adeptus Mechanicus for instance, some of the box set you can find Cataphrons versus Skitarii, two very different models. You might be more interested in Skitarii forces versus having, I suppose, your Cult Mech force, so it can be a bit different there. Look at even Adeptus Custodes there. You've got Custodes and you've got Sister of Silence. Do you want both? Really is something to think about. Do you want every model in the box? Does your current pile of shame have other units in it that need work? This is a big one for many people if you are playing for or making for hobby purposes. I have really limited my purchases at the moment, mainly because I have a huge to-do list when it comes to my painting. I have Votan to do. I tried to start Orcs and did a really good paint job to begin with, but there was a lot of models in it, and I really want to try and start going back to the products I have got. I've got ones from way back in 2020 to do. So that's a big one for myself. I really try and limit myself because I've got a lot of past projects. So although maybe new stuff that's coming out I'm really tempted to get, I try and hold back there. And the other things I'm going to evaluate are value. Each model's priced separately, determine the box set discount, and which units you might find undesirable, but the box set might still be worth it. That's if you might find that one unit you don't want, but hey, you want the rest of it and it's still cheaper. Go ahead. And usefulness of each unit, so how unit each perform, and usefulness as of August 2023. One thing I won't really look at is the value based on hobby. I find this entirely subjective, so if I do look at it, it's simply going to be from a subjective manner of how I look at the hobby for myself. How I look at the models, do I think they're great, do I think they're awesome, would I want to paint them, etc. That'll be more of a personal view on that side and can be wildly different from your own. So let's talk about the contents of the Chaos Space Marine Combat Patrol box. What are you going to get? So in terms of a leader, you're getting a Dark Apostle, quite cool, new modern unit. So costs £25 at the moment if you're looking at UK prices, and at the moment it's looking at about 85 points. Hellbrute is £37.50, coming out at about 155 points. Havocs, again £37.50, looking at about 135 points. And Chaos Space Marines looking at about £40, and they are looking at about 200 points at the moment. So the value of this box set as of August 2023 is £95 via Games Workshop directly. And total individually you are looking at about £140. So your total savings is about £45, which I believe is about 32.1 give or take savings. Now a big thing to remember within the hobby is that there are many discount places all around the world that can help you. Now I know in the UK there are very predominant, we do have a lot of options, but there's always looking out for the best option. At the moment you might find that it's not going to be Games Workshop, and you might find your other places that are going to really discount your prices and get a bit of a better value for it. But I'm really talking about the sort of Combat Patrol compared to buying each item separately. So overall I do think it's decent saving, £45, nearly 33%, nearly a third off, which is quite good. Most units are around the same value except for the Dark Apostle, so if you don't want one of the units then you are still eligible to really make a bit of a saving, but the saving's not going to be huge. And that becomes, if it becomes two units you don't want, then you are certainly looking at probably passing on the box set and getting something else. Because really a lot of these units do come around near to the £45 mark where you would begin to lose value. Everything really apart from the Dark Apostle on that side. One thing I would add is that at 575 points, I do think these are actually not bad. That is You know, if you fielded everything here, you'd be almost a quarter of a 2,000 point game. That's really good, a way bit higher than some other forces where you can find the points are significantly lower. Let's have a look at the units themselves, starting with the Dark Apostle coming in at 85 points. So in terms of stats, kind of what you'd expect for a Marine, especially if they're not in Terminator armor, it's just power armor. But it does have a higher leadership, which should help with battle shock tests, leadership tests, dark packs, etc. Weapons, melee is not bad in combat at targeting mid-range infantry, though does have a low AP. Keep in mind it does benefit from its ability. And Dark Zealotry, unit gains +1 to wound in melee, which is a fantastic ability. Really does up the ability if you are targeting just about anything. Augmenting wound rolls is always extremely helpful. Demagogue, once per battle at the start of any phase, choose friendly unit within 9 inches. Unit is no longer battle shocked. That's going to be handy if you are suddenly battle shocked and you need to control an objective or get a stratagem off. Very, very handy to have just in an emergency. You never know opponent's abilities that might prevent you. The Malign Sacrifice, which destroys Disciple to inflict mortal wounds on an enemy in engagement range. Not really a great one. It's nice to have the model, but not the greatest. Overall, not a bad buff character for units. Legionnaires will benefit from this a lot. +1 to wound or Cursed Cultist. Generally a little bit outshined by other characters, so it's not a big priority, but it is a character that is a fantastic model and it is one that +1 wound you will find useful, just depending on the units that you're using. Otherwise, there might be better leaders for that unit, but I would not say no to a +1 to wound Dark Apostle. On to the Legionnaires next at 20 points per model. So in terms of stats, kind of, they are the basic Marines as far as you're going to go. Your toughness 4, your 2 wounds now, I suppose, and 3 up save. They've got a good bit of sturdiness to them to possibly stay about. In terms of weapons, I'm going to far prefer melee weapons here due to the rules that they have, special abilities especially, board control. Just generally, you get plenty of attacks, and you can put in a couple of heavier weapons if you want in there, maybe special weapons, etc. They do have low strength, AP, and damage. It is a lot of attacks. You are getting a bit of volume when you are using a Astartes Chainsword. I suppose the AP -1 is pretty good. It's really needed to have a character to maximise beyond this. Now, I say that as if you're maybe taking a 10-man squad. If you are taking small 5-man squads to try and jump on objectives, sure, that is possible as well. You might not need a character so much then. Their ability, though, is Vets of Long War. Reroll melee wound rolls of 1, and then reroll all melee wounds if an enemy is within range of an objective marker. So that really pushes them towards get onto objective markers. Your opponent's on an objective marker, go and charge them and try and take them out. So you are going to find a real big preference for melee there. Overall, as a general purpose unit, they are fine. Pushing largely closer to melee than ranged is what I think is kind of there. They do have a melta gun, which can help there, but I think you really need a character to make a bit of synergy to make their Vets of Long War ability and melee weapons all come together. The problem is, they are largely other units who can do generally melee, everything that they can do, just better. The other thing is, in this combat patrol, you are just getting the general unit, not the kill team one, so that means you're missing war gear as well. One thing I would note though is that they are Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires. They are iconic and a staple starting point for any Chaos Space Marine force. Next we have Havocs, which are coming in at about 27 points per model. Now, slightly different to Chaos Space Marines in terms of stats. They are slower by an inch, but extra toughness, which actually does go a long way to make sure they are surviving small arms fire, I suppose. But generally, that is probably good for range. You want to be tougher and you don't want to be moving around as much. In terms of weapons, they are very versatile, leaning towards the autocannon more than anything. It is decent strength, AP is a bit lacking, but it is that 3 damage. So if you are shooting the volume of shots, you get 2 shots each, got a few of them. You can maybe pick off a few Terminators, which would be quite nice, or some light vehicles as well. They have Stabilization Talents, which is Ignore Bliss skill to hit modifiers, which is excellent, really good on a unit such as these, meaning you've got consistent hints, meaning that if anyone's got, any sort of ballistic skill or to hit modifiers, nope, not going to happen. You are just hitting at that 3+. In terms of usage, might be a bit outshined again by other ranged models, and although I would say Chaos Space Marines in general do sort of favour melee than ranged, But a good to cheap backfield, objective holding unit, put them in cover as well. Could be a pain for your opponent to shift. Problem is, in the box you do get 2 of each heavy weapon, bar the chain cannon where you only get 1. So if you want consistency, you're gonna need another box at Havocs. When they did come out the new ones, I absolutely love them. Some of the first models I've ever actually painted. I started painting in 2019. And them, the Chaos Space Marines, were an absolute joy to paint. So yeah, very, very interesting unit, and yeah, I'd say, again, largely outshined, but again, very, very iconic for Chaos Space Marines. And finally we come to the iconic Hellbrute at 155 points per model. So in terms of stats, it is basic Dreadnought stats, though a little bit weaker in terms of the Primaris, less movement, toughness, wounds, objective control, but it is rocking a 9 on toughness and a 2-up save, so can't argue with that. That is surprisingly tough. You are going to find that bolter shots are going to bounce off it, and they're going to need 6s to wound, etc. So it does make it a wee bit tough, though it is a bit annoying we're not as tough as maybe some of our loyalist brothers and their new shiny ones, their dreadnoughts. In terms of weapons, it has a couple of options. So in terms of ranged, many options, but often people find you'll just go with the last missile combo. If you're going to go ranged, that'll add a lot there. In terms of melee, sometimes used with another ranged weapon, that would be kind of my preference here. However, the Scourge for anti-mid infantry is not bad, and either the Hammer or Fist for heavier hitting targets. Really depends what you want to go for. To me, I kind of lean towards the Fist. That consistent damage 3 is good, but you say that, the Hellbrute Hammer can only do worse if it rolls a 1. So yeah, not bad. You are missing on 4s then, but you are getting extra strength, extra AP, and probably more damage. So you need to think about what you want to do on that side. But yeah, plenty of potential both in shooting and in combat there. But the main thing that people looked at when they looked at the Hellbrute is the ability, and that is Dark Ascension. 6-inch order. Units that perform Dark Pacts within range gain both abilities of the Pact instead of just one. That can be a fantastic ability for Chaos Space Marines. I had a look at this and really thought it might be quite interesting to see it with things like Forge Fiends, where you can get a lot of their shots really becoming a lot more dangerous by having this in the centre. Problem is, if your opponent does see you're planning to do that strategy, they might just try and take out the Hellbrute first and foremost, so you don't get the benefits. Overall, its ability alone is an impressive way to augment other units. The other thing as well is that, however, its damage mitigation is not the best. Again, 2-up save and toughness 9 is not bad. It is only 8 wounds, so if your opponent does direct some anti-tank stuff at it, it probably will melt. It doesn't have anything to really keep it going longer. I do like it. One thing I would say is I'm not a big fan of the Hellbrute model. I really like classic Dreadnoughts in a way. I wish there was some kind of more options for Dreadnoughts, etc. with Chaos Space Marines. It doesn't need to be so demonic, just something else, give us an upgraded one. I don't know what you'd go with, but something to me that's a little bit different would be really, really cool. So what is my overall final thoughts when it comes to Chaos Space Marine Combat Patrol? It's a mixed bag of units here, and that's a good thing. Support character, battle line unit, long-ranged infantry, and a hybrid walker. A lot of different stuff there. In terms of usage, when you're adding to either beginning on a force or adding to a force. As a beginner, I think this is a great variety, with the Hellbrute and the Legionaries being the highlight. After all, they are iconic units, and after all, if you're going to start Chaos Space Marines, you might as well get Chaos Space Marines. And that's in the Legionnaires. The Dark Apostle, I don't think would be my first choice as a beginner character, but it is a new model, which is quite cool. And the Havocs are possibly not a must take, but they are really cool Chaos Space Marine models nonetheless. Adding to an existing force, this is okay, a lot of different units, but I feel if you're adding to a force, you might be finding that you're wanting to get some really, really powerful forces for units for playing, and many of these can be outshined by other units, so that's a little bit difficult to say, yeah, you'll find these and plenty of these units in particular forces. I don't think that's the case here. I think you would be looking at some other units. Overall though, I am going to give it a 7 out of 10. Dark Apostle and Legionnaires are an effective combat unit together. As a good basic point, you can throw them up the field, try and take over points, not bad. And the Hellbrute does have a lot of potential for support, though I would say its damage mitigation is poor, so you might have difficulty actually keeping it alive. Havocs I do like as a unit that's back of the field, shooting away, can do some damage, hold on to an objective. If someone tries to come and take that objective, that might be a bit more difficult. The main thing is that if you are looking at a competitive aspect, a lot of things are going to get outshined here. A lot of things. And that makes it a little bit difficult to advocate for. However, one thing I would say is in terms of, and I know I said I wouldn't really talk about so much, in terms of hobby, you are getting a lot of the iconic units here. You are getting Chaos Legionaries. You are getting Havocs. You're getting the Hellbrute, which is effectively the Chaos Space Marine Dreadnought. The Apostle, maybe not so much, but it is still a Chaos Space Marine. I love this box set because it's Chaos Space Marines. There's no cults, there's not really any demons or anything like that. It is a purely Chaos Space Marine box set. I really like that. Maybe I'm being a bit biased because my first painting force was Chaos Space Marines. I do love the villains in this setting, but I still think if you are wanting to buy Chaos Space Marines, especially as beginning, this is a good place to start. So that is it for my review on the Chaos Space Marines Combat Patrol. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are there certain units you'd prefer to actually see in here than the units that are available? I'd be really interested to see what you'd swap out. I really like this because you are getting Chaos Space Marines. I'm getting a little bit annoyed at Chaos Space Marines. We seem to be getting too many sort of cult units that would be maybe better in Lost and Damned, and we are getting units that are maybe a little bit more demon. I like to see Chaos Space Marines. I really feel you get that within this box set. So thanks again for watching. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.